Hey there, here with a video to help you going from mixed numbers to improper fraction and improper fraction to mixed numbers. Now both of these fractions are fractions greater than 1, which means they have more than one whole in them. So there's various times where you'll want to use mixed numbers and there's various times where you want to use improper fractions. So depending on what you give, you may need to convert back and forth. So this is a very important skill to have for 4th grade. So I have a couple examples here that I'm going to go through quickly for you. So the first one is I have 2 and 3/4, and I wrote it twice because I want to show you two ways that they can solve this. So 2 and 3/4 can be written just like 2 plus 3/4. All a mixed number is just a whole number added with a fraction. So to help us, I can decompose this 2. I can break this 2 apart into two ones, 1 plus 1. And then I can add 3/4. Now this is going to help us because when we add or subtract fractions, we need to make sure that we have the same denominators. So right now with a whole number, well, whole numbers don't have denominators, but I can change this whole number into a fraction very easily. So 1 whole is going to equal 4/4. Any fraction that has the same numerator and denominator equals 1 whole. And I chose fourths because my fraction part of my mixed number is in fourths, and I want to keep that same denominator. So I have my 1 whole plus another whole, so another 4/4 plus 3/4. Well, when I add fractions, I just add the numerators when the denominators are the same, keep the denominator the same. So 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11, and I get 11/4. Now that's going to be a longer way. It's not the way that I learned when I was a kid. So if students need to do it this way, that's fine. It's okay. But what we want to do is do it the way that we all learned. So what we do is one thing I call is bringing it around town, bringing our denominator around town. So you start by multiplying first, then adding. So you take your denominator, you multiply it by the whole number, and then you add it to the numerator. So whatever that numerator was, you add that product to it. So I'm going to take my 4 and my 2, multiply, I get 8, and then I'm going to add it to the 3, and I get 11. And my denominator will stay the same. The denominator will always stay the same. So I got 11/4, just like I got 11/4 here. The multiplying the denominator and the whole number is basically this step here. Since I have 2/4, that's like multiplying 2 by 4. So just a short little shortcut for you. So doing my next one, I have 5 and 1/6. I'm going to do it again, doing it that quicker way. So I'm going to take my denominator and I'm going to take it around. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply, then I'm going to add. So 5 multiplied by 6, or in this case 6 multiplied by 5, is 30. And I already had 1 in the numerator, so I'm going to add 30 to that, so I get 31. And the denominator, like always, stays the same. We're not changing the size of the fraction. That's why the denominator always stays the same. So in this case, 5 and 1/6 is equivalent to 31/6. Now going the other way, going from improper fraction to mixed number, students will sometimes have a hard time with this, a harder time. But if it shouldn't be, as long as they have practice, it's something they should be able to do, absolutely. So we have 14/3. Well, I can take my 14/3, and I know there's at least one whole in there, so I can take out one whole. So I'm going to subtract 3/3. I chose 3/3 because my denominator is 3, so I want to make sure I have the same denominator, and then I just need to subtract the numerators. All right, so 14 minus 3, all right, that would be 11/3. I notice the numerator is still larger, so I can take out another third. So I'm going to subtract another 3/3. Or I'm sorry, I can take out another whole. So I'm going to take out another 3/3. All right, now I'm left with 8/3. Again, still a improper fraction, so I'm going to take out another 3/3. I end up with 5/3. All right, again, one more time. I'm going to take out 3/3, and I end up with 2/3. Now I have a proper fraction. So now you just need to add up how many times did I take out one whole. So I took out 1, 2, 3, 4. So I took out 4 wholes, And what was left over? That would be 2/3. So 4 2/3 is equivalent to 14/3. Now again, that's a lot of work. I'm not going to want to do all that work. I want to do the shortcut way. So a fraction is nothing more than a division problem. You could read 14/3 as 14 divided by 3. Now this is where knowing the multiplication facts for students will really help. Because if they think, all right, what times 3 will get me close to 14? All right, well I know 3 times 4 will get me close. It gets me to 12. So I know there's 2 left over. So that would be 4 remainder 2. Now this is going to be key for students. If they can do this, they can do the shortcut. Because this is going to be our whole number, however many times it could go into it. And our remainder is going to be our new numerator, and our denominator stays the same. Got the same answer much quicker. This is the way that was taught years ago. Now we're showing the why does that work, because repeated subtraction, subtracting the same thing over and over again, is division. That's why it works. So the last one, we have 23/5, or the way that I like to think about it, 23 divided by 5. Well, I know that 5 times, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 5 times 4 will get me to 20. So I need to ask myself, how many is left over? Well, there's 23, we only got to 20, so that means there's 3 left over. That must be my numerator. And like always, my denominator stays the same. Right, so hopefully this video helps. I showed the why the shortcuts work, and I show the shortcuts. Obviously, we'd love the students to do the shortcuts. It's much faster, it's less work, it's going to be more accurate if they can do it. If they forgot a hole or something, there's a big mess when you're doing more work. So, like I always tell the kids, the only way to get better at this, the only way to learn, is just practice. So just keep on practicing, even if you're going back and forth for the same number. It's just learning that process that you multiply, then you add. It's that process that you're dividing. That's all it is. And again, with all practice, they'll be great. All right, I'll see you next time.